Yep, if it doesn't. There we go. Hey, Speakeasy podcast listeners. Altavi Spelter here, your voice manager. I unmute the voice of women who are ready to speak up about what has kept her silent for way too long. Guys, this whole series, this whole month, I have been through the roof listening to these stories, connecting with women all over who are doing some phenomenal things in and out of their business. But let me explain something to you about this episode. I heard this woman on Clubhouse talk about what it is that she does. And she didn't even have to give, like, she didn't give a full dissertation. It wasn't like a keynote address, but I could hear the passion that she had for it. And I knew that the purpose behind it was so valuable that I had to bring it to you guys. Listen, yes, I stalked her in her inbox just for you. I love y'all. And if there's any arrest, just know I do it for you. But with that being said, I wanted to say, hello, Kim. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing great. I absolutely love what it is that you do. But before we jump into today's topic, tell the studio audience a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Kim Greene. Company name is B.L.A.C.K, and it stands for Bases Loaded Authentic Clothing and Caps with a K. We specialize in licensed apparel for the Negro Leagues, the Buffalo Soldiers, and the Tuskegee-Airmen, because we want to make sure that that history doesn't die, because so many of the people that created the history are. We want to make sure that we keep their legacy alive. We do it through apparel. We like to tell people that the clothing creates the conversation, because there's so many elements of Black history that just are not taught. There's a story behind it, which I imagine we'll get into later. But really, it's, especially in this time that we're in right now, we recognize that if you don't know where you came from, it's hard to move forward. You know, our motto is actually empowering our future by honoring and preserving our past. And that's what we work to do every day.
I told y'all this was going to be a good episode. So I hope you're listening and turn it all the way up. Tell a friend to listen to this episode. Like, you may want to share it out a few hundred times. I'm just, just a suggestion. That was what caught me. Because when we think about legacy, unfortunately, in the limelight, there's so many people that think legacy is equated to money. But for me, when I think about legacy are the lessons that I was able to teach someone, the lives that I was able to impact. And so when I heard what you did, I said, wow, look at all of the legacies that she's going, and she's making people, not only making it visible to people, but yet starting the conversation. So yes, we have to know how this all started. Like, did you just wake up one morning and say, you know what? This is what I will do? Yep.
Not even remotely. When I tell you, my background is hotel management. I used to run Marriott's. And my fiance at the time, now husband, was very into the Negro League. And just for the record, we've been doing this for 20 years. I started it when I was 3. And
Love it. Love it.
it was really hard to find apparel. We found this company, and this was in 98. So the internet was really not prevalent. So I found this company, called them. They mailed me a catalog. I've ordered some stuff, sent them a check, like the whole thing. The items that I ended up purchasing turned out to be items that he had designed. Now, his background is architecture. And what I did not know is during the time that he was at North Carolina State's School of Design, and the Negro League Museum was in the process of trying to kind of revamp their retro line. So they started a contest, and were like basically looking for design submissions. And several of the ones that he submitted were accepted. He won them. And that's what I bought him, not knowing. So he's like, oh man, that's awesome. Where did you get it? And, abbreviated version is he started working with that company. That particular one was out of New York. And it wasn't through the Negro League Museum, it was actually through the Negro League Players Association. Did some things with them. We figured, oh, this is a good side hustle, because, before I gave it to him, I'm showing everybody at work. And I'm like, oh, look at this. This is awesome. They're like, hey, I like this. Where'd you get it? Da, 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 da. So anyway, he sees the vision far before I did. So within like 6 months, he's like, yeah, I'm leaving architecture to do this full time. I'm like, wait, what? Um, what?
Right? You're like, wait, wait, you're leaving
Right.
architecture to do,
That part.
wait a minute.
Yeah, because my perception was you're leaving architecture to sell t-shirts. Because really that's what at the time we just had t-shirts and hats. And it was like 3 hats and 6 t-shirts, but he had done some events with the uh, people that were doing the company at the time and saw the big picture. I would kind of go and do events with them later on as well. So anyway, moving forward, it was 2004 and I was going through a transition. I was at the top of where I was management wise, and I was being kind of pushed forward to go to the next level. But I really wasn't happy. Hotels don't close. You always have everybody, you know, all the crazy people stayed at Marriott. That was my perception. So I was kind of going through a transition. He was like, tell you what, this was in January. He was like, give me 3 months. He said, no, it was the summertime, because that's when our peak season is. He said, if things aren't really going how you want them to go, then you can go back to work. And that was in 2004. So that's really how it kind of started. The company that we started out working with went out of business, so then transitioned over to the Negro League Museum. When we were doing events, people were saying, well, hey, why do you limit yourself to just the Negro League? There's so many different elements of history. There's the Buffalo Soldiers, there's the Tuskegee-Airmen, so we got licensed through them. We also got licensed through like the Triple Nickels, which things people have never heard of, the Triple Nickels, the 761st Tank Battalion. We're working on the Harlem Hellfighters, Montfort Point Marines, Golden 13, Red Ball Express. There's so many different elements of Black military history that are just not known. And in doing this, we actually have had the chance to spend time. We do the Tuskegee Airmen Convention every year. We've done a number of things with the Negro League players. And when you deal with them directly, you get the backstory. Normally you hear, oh yeah, Jackie Robinson, he was the first this. But when you talk to people that are his teammates, there was one gentleman, his name is B.L.A.C.K. He played for the Philadelphia Stars. And he was like, everybody talk in his book, he says, everybody talks about Jackie Robinson. I wasn't a big fan of him. Now, generally that's just straight up blasphemy. But when you hear him, he's like, because, once he crossed over, everybody kept wanting to be part of the major leagues. So we crossed over into the major leagues. And then that was the end of the Negro League and I lost my job. You don't think about that perspective, And he's like, he was all right. And I understand what he was trying to do. But then you talk about how that takes you to us just as a people, because we work so hard to be accepted that we lose ourselves. Because just using that particular example with the Negro League, not only was it players that stopped working, but they have to think about everything around it: the ticket takers, the concessionaires, the hotels, the reporters. All of those people, once the Negro League ceased to exist, so did their business. And just helping people to be able to recognize the impact that we have on everything that we do. And if we work so hard to try to get outside of that, we can really lose ourselves. So what we try to do is remind people where we came from. We talk about Black Wall Street in Tulsa. We talk about just a number of different things that have happened in our history and in our culture, and trying to keep that alive. And since we're talking about women, we also celebrate women. There were 3 players: Mamie Peanut Johnson, Connie Morgan, and Toni Stone were the only 3 female Negro League baseball players. You talk about Bessie Coleman, who everybody knows about her. She was licensed in France, but there was Willa Brown, who was the first to get a pilot's license in the United States. Kathy Williams was the female Buffalo Soldier. She was the only woman, Black, white, anything, that was actually able to be in the military as a man. It was a year before they found out she was a man. She registered under William Cathy. There's so much history, and we, just as women, we do what we have to do to get stuff done. And it's just excited. I love being able to spend time with these people to tell their stories. We wanted to make sure, kind of going back to the product, you would see stuff on just throwaway. You wash it one time and it turns into a medium. And it's like you've got this amazing history on throwaway apparel. And we wanted to change that, so the focus became making sure that you've got a high quality item that's telling a story and you're proud to wear it. And here we are. That was the short version.
Oh my goodness. See, speak easy. Y'all understand now why I was in her inbox? Do you understand? And I didn't even know like that, the gravity of it. Like I didn't even know that it expanded that far out with the reach. But
Mhm.
now y'all know why I potentially became a stalker.
I won't take out any papers on you, I promise.
Right? Ugh. But that's to so many things, because when I think about, even with talking to my own children and, about, Black Wall Street, and there's different things that we've watched on different documentaries and things, and them learning about who the African American actors and actresses were and what they did, and so I love our culture is so rich now, but man, we have let so many things go to the grave. We've let so many things slip through our hands because nobody's telling the story.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And what a lot of us don't even realize is that there's history just in our family. You might have Uncle Joe that, you've always seen him and you see him, you say hi at Thanksgiving, you say hi at the family reunion, you keep it moving. But you don't find out that Uncle Joe was one of the original Tuskegee-Airmen until you read it in his obituary when you go to the funeral. And it's like we don't take the time to talk to our parents, our grandparents, and just say, tell me your story. I was talking to this was like a couple years ago when I was talking to my dad, and we are just having a conversation. I knew he had been in the military, and I figured 3 or 4 years. He was like, no, I was in for 12 years, left as a captain, was about to go to major. And I was like, wait, what? And then he's telling me about things that he did while he was in the military, things that, dealing with the NAACP and dealing with racism and things that it's just not. One of the things that we found, especially with the older, like the World War II era, even some Vietnam era, it was hard. They don't really want to talk about it. So sometimes it's hard to get things out of them, but sometimes they want to talk. It's just nobody asks. And if they don't think you're interested, they're not going to bother because, they'll start talking about, like, oh, Joe, you're always telling that story. Nobody wants to hear that. And then the stories die. And then what do you do? So it's rough.
Great question. What do you do when the story dies?
Exactly.
I
You
love
just got to try to keep it alive.
exactly. For our family, we have an interesting history, but because I am the eldest right now, I guess I'm the matriarch of my family at the moment. I guess
No pressure.
would be right. No pressure at all. And my great grandfather was a magician, and he had a singing group, and he had performed for the Globetrotters and for the service. He had went and performed for them, and so we have the news clippings and photos and things like that. And so every once and again we go back through those photos. But I think a lot of times when we think about, even right now as we're recording, it's still Black History Month, but Black history starts with us. What does your lineage say? Who are the people that are in your bloodline and what have they done? And I look at my children and I can often say, well, your grandmother did this. Your grandmother, she she dropped out of school because she was pregnant with me, but she went back, not only got her GED, but got 3 degrees. You have some powerhouses in your bloodline. Like,
Exactly.
don't
Exactly.
don't and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So that's why it
Exactly.
was so significant to have you share this story, because I think a lot of times we've gotten so beat down by current circumstances that we forget where we come from.
Exactly. Or we're trying too hard to forget. That's the thing too, because sometimes it's, as I'm not a parent, but I have parents, and I've got nieces and nephews, and you realize that, or what I've recognized from the outside looking in is, as a parent, you want the best for your kids. You don't want them to have the struggles that you had. But sometimes the kids end up worse off because they haven't had to struggle and they don't know from where they came and they don't know the struggles that you went through. So when things happen to them, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle it. And I mean, it's like that as a culture, we've, worked so hard to integrate, to fit in, to, what's the word? Assimilate,
Mhm.
that we we keep losing little bits of ourselves. And there's no real effort to try to hold on to that, and then it's sometimes it's you can't hold on to what you don't know. If you weren't taught, then you can't teach. And then, that's another way that history gets lost. So, we just do everything we can to make sure stories are told, from what we can tell, things that people didn't know about, like I was saying with other elements of history that just nobody knows about, making sure that they're known, um, and keeping it positive, because I tell people I'm still Black on March 1st. I'm not only Black in February, and I'm a woman after March 1st, So not to limit it and not to feel like it's just Black, because like I even said this morning, what we do is encourage people to recognize that the impact that all of these organizations had, not just in Black history, but on American history, because that's none of this, we wouldn't be where we are as a country was it not for our ancestors and all the contributions that they made.
Now, since starting the company B.L.A.C.K, what has been your most memorable moment so far?
Whew, most memorable. It's really hard to say one, um, because it is hard to say one, really, because I would say if I lumped it all together, just being able to spend time in the space of people that created so much history and don't think that much about it. You know, when you're talking to them, I'll be talking to one of the airmen or one of the players, and I'll be like, just thank you for what you did. It was awesome. They're like, look, we just wanted a chance to play. We just wanted to fly. We just wanted to let people know what we can do. And just listening to the passion and their backstories is just I think that's what had the most impact on me, because at first this just started out, like I said, kind of as a side hustle. I saw the significance of it, but I didn't really see the heart. Once you actually can put a face and a name and a relationship to what you're doing, it changes everything. It allows you, when people try to minimize what you're doing or criticize, you're able to um, be able to say what your why is. And that's something that even when I was in the hotel industry, what's your why? I need a check, you know. But now people say, what's your why? Because all of these people that I have a personal relationship with, that I've seen, that I've talked to, that I have 1,000 adopted grandparents, I want to make sure that their stories are told, that their legacy lives on. And that, the people that were affected by it, even talking to people in the major leagues who some acknowledge, hey, I wouldn't be here without them. Others are like, well, hey, they did it, I did it on my own. Everybody doesn't have an appreciation for it, but you still need to know about it, and like I was saying earlier, you're born ignorant. You got to learn to be stupid. So if you don't know and you're educated, then that's fine. But if you do learn and just choose not to, there's really nothing that we can do. But at least we've done our part to try to make sure that knowledge is shared.
I definitely thank you for doing your part. I I
I
think
appreciate
about, I think about what we actually learned in school as opposed to what actually happened in,
it. Right.
in our history. And I'm like, there's still a big chunk missing from what we
Big.
actually are teaching in the schools. But uh, you taking that step forward and saying, you know what, I'm not going to rely on the school to be the teacher. I'm going to
We
go get
can't.
the stories. I'm going to go get the information, and I'm going to bring it back
Hmm.
to whoever I can, tap in and go ahead and pass that off to them. so that way they could be the ones to run with it. We always hear about, write the vision, make it plain so someone else can run with it. Well, that's it in a nutshell. When we go and we find out someone else's story and we put it in a way that somebody else can read about it, ask questions about it, learn about it, that is us writing it down and allowing the world to run with it.
Absolutely. Stop making it his story. Let it be our story.
Speak Easy podcast listeners, I know that y'all got all the feels in this episode. I know. If you didn't, I have all the feels for you. It's okay. I appreciate what it is that you do. I thank you. And one of the reasons why we were doing this series is because we wanted to give people their flowers while they're here. Thank you, for what you do, because it's not always an arena where people are just coming up to you, giving you hugs and high fives and things of that nature. But we know that if not you, then who? And I know that that's a heavy weight to carry sometimes, because we never know where it's going to take us. But man, I'm so thankful for people who decide to go ahead and move forward in something that they didn't originally think that it was like.
Right.
Okay.
Let me do what?
We do what now? And then I got to do what? That I don't know. I know you got to show me the whole plan.
Right. Say God doesn't work like that.
Not at all. We're like, come on, God, just let the light be a little brighter so we can see a few more steps in front. And we don't always get that opportunity. So Kim, I want you to let everybody know how they can reach out to you online and find you online, and also how they can go ahead and purchase things from you.
Well, you can go online or website negroleague1920.com, negroleague1920.com. Everything that you see, we've got the Negro League, the Buffalo Soldiers, Tuskegee-Airmen. I didn't even mention the fact that I make Black baby dolls. That's probably another conversation. And that's from the history of the Clark doll study, when you couldn't find quality Black dolls. So I started doing that as well. On Facebook, it's Black before you, Black letter B, number 4, letter U. Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube are all Negro League 1920. If you're old school, you can call at 856-599-8411. I think that pretty much covers everything.
Good. Guys, remember, we're doing this not just so you can hear these stories, but we want you to support, share out a post, go and connect with them, say thank you, tell them that you heard them on the Speak Easy podcast. We want to get these voices out here, guys. We want to get these stories out here, because guess what? It can help somebody somewhere, inspire somebody. But this particular one, it really, it tugged on my heart, because it's not only their story, but it's them bringing along with them all of these other stories. So that's so significant, even now, guys, because listen, we have a voice. It's time to be unmuted. We have a voice, we have a story, and our story can help somebody else. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. By all means, let us know how this episode resonated with you by going and leaving us a review on your favorite podcasting platform, or come join the conversation, bit.ly/World Voice Community. We would love to have you in the group. And listen, with that being said, until next time, guys, don't forget to press it out. See ya.